This is a topic that is near to and dear to my heart because I see so many, particularly women, with vaginal and vulvar dryness. And I just want to really stress that it's not just the vagina, even though everyone sort of talks about women's genitalia as the vagina. It has many different parts, and you'll see just in a second that the different parts actually are different in their structure and to a certain extent their function. So here we go. I'm going to be talking a lot about products, but I really, if I had even $1 for every time I talked about a specific product, I'd have a fair number of dollars, but I'm not affiliated with any company, so no conflicts at all. So one of the most important things that I find in my clinical practice is that people really have little to no understanding about the difference between lubricants and moisturizers. And when they use a product for the wrong reason, it doesn't work or at best, or it actually causes harm. And they often will give up on trying to find a product that works for them. So I'm going to talk about what, when you use moisturizers, when you lose lubricants. And, this this talk is specifically aimed at women and the men and women who love them. So, this is not just for women, but a lot of this comes from my work with women with cancer and their partners. So, you'll see a lot of mention of that. So this is a very busy slide. I apologize, and you really don't have to memorize this because there is no quiz afterwards. But the tissues down there, and often when I see patients, and I'm a nurse by background, so I have patients, not clients. They'll say to me, well, I'm dry down there, or it hurts down there. And I tend to sort of keep it a little bit lighthearted and say, you know what, down there is like Australia. If I'm to help you, I need to know if your problem's in Perth or Sydney, because they are, fairly far apart. So to differentiate between vagina, which is an internal organ, and the vulva, which is all the stuff on the outside. So there are different tissues in this part of women's anatomy. So really, this is all that this slide talks about. So the vulva is both keratinized, like hair is keratinized, and non-keratinized. An epithelial just refers to the type of tissue it is. So the vulva itself is divided, that parts are keratinized and other parts are unkeratinized. The vagina, the internal organ, and it is an organ in and of itself. It's also a self-cleaning organ. So here's my little soapbox. Please, 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 if you are a woman who is douching, please stop. It really doesn't do any good for anybody. In fact, it does a whole lot of harm because it changes what we call the vaginal milieu, or the environment of the vagina. It is a self-cleaning organ. You really don't need, anything, including water, to go up there. And nobody needs down there to smell like autumn rain or spring flowers. So that's just a little bit of my soapbox, because there are so many women, despite the evidence, that are still douching. And women are not dirty down there, so you really don't need this. So vulvovaginal atrophy, so atrophy just means dryness or destruction of tissues. So vulvovaginal is really common, particularly after menopause, because lubrication, the natural lubrication in the vagina and to a certain extent on the vulva, is caused by estrogen. And estrogen affects the tiny, tiny, tiny little blood vessels in the tissues, which then secrete fluid into the tissues. So commonly after menopause, women will experience vulvovaginal dryness. And this is why it's important when I talk to women to understand where the dryness is, because if they say vaginal dryness and it's actually not in the vagina, it's vulvar dryness, the management or control of this makes a difference.